up in the world of show business, you don't realise how privileged you are. And this really was the point of this particular video, because when you think about it, there's this term, isn't there, at the moment, chums, called Nepo baby. I'm never sure which way around it is. And it's all about the people who are children from famous people. And I've often thought it's not their fault. I mean, you can't blame Liza Minnelli of being the daughter of the brilliant Judy Garland or the wonderful director Vincente Minnelli. I mean, that's just her legacy, isn't it? What do you do about that? It's a bit like Deanna Martin, of course, and her father being Dean Martin. She's a fabulous lady, fabulous singer, but everybody's always going to talk about the father. It's the same as I said, I've been lucky enough to meet Nancy Sinatra, Tina Sinatra, and the late Frank Jr., and they all had the same problems. Sadly, recently, we lost a wonderful guy that I got to know very well. And when you think about it, he literally was at the epicenter of so many of the big stories, the big names of that particular era. This man, Anthony Bygraves. Let me tell you a little bit more. Morning, chums. Nice to see you. Thank you so much as ever for taking the time out for joining me. Anthony Bygraves, you've worked it out, right? He is the son, of course, of the late and brilliant Max Bygraves. Now, Max Bygraves, I met him as well, all thanks to my great dad. And the thing is, Max was one of these people that was really clever because he went across so many levels, big recording star with his sing-along albums, mocked at the time, but very successful. And now, if you put them on at a party, everybody's happy, right? Fabulous. Of course, he appeared in films, TV series, spectacular stage shows at the London Palladium, and all thanks to this particular lady, the brilliant Miss Show Business, Judy Garland. Well, he appeared not only in her opening sort of stands here in April 1951 at the London Palladium, but also over at the Palace. She invited him all the way over to appear at the Palace. I mean, what a thrill. And as Max said, he couldn't quite believe it because he realised why he'd been booked for the Palladium, a British comic, eased them in a little bit, and then, and he said she was a terrific lady. They remained friends throughout the rest of her life, and it's just so down to earth. Likewise, as I said, he'd met and, worked with every single person, a huge favourite with the monarchy, and appeared many times privately, also in Windsor Castle and at Buckingham Palace and stuff like that. The Queen Mother loved Max Bygraves. She loved the sing-along songs. But Anthony Bygraves has sadly just left us. And as I said, I met him at a huge function down in Bournemouth when they were premiering a film. And he lived in that area, as did his father, also most of the time as well in Australia. So it was lovely to catch up with him. What I liked about Anthony was, as I said, he had some wonderful stories about how he was rescued from a swimming pool at I think about the age of 5 by the wonderful film star James Mason. He got in the pool, got into difficulties, and suddenly you find this major star like James Mason lifting you out, and you think, oh wow, wonderful when you think, because of course this was the world that he lived in. I said, what was Judy Garland like? And he said, listen, she was terrific to me because I'm a child, and she just loved children and she had a great empathy with them and warm and wonderful and all that sort of stuff. And I thought, oh, it's nice to have those stories. Of course, Anthony could have been a star himself, but what he decided really to do was to go behind the scenes. Anthony could have been a star himself. But what, of course, he decided to do was go behind the scenes and manage his father's career as well. He was also a prolific drummer and was brilliant, in fact, at the drums. And that was a career he wanted to go down more into music and being big band drumming and stuff like that. But, of course, he got drawn into the business of his father because his father, as I said, Max, was such a colossal star. By the time I'd met him, he was looking after the legacy of his father. And again, it's hard to imagine just thinking about this in today's world, but he literally would have mixed and met with everybody who was around, everybody from the brilliant Morecambe and Wise to, Laurel and Hardy, things like that. He'd met them all along the way. And it's really sad, isn't it, when these people leave us, not only because he was a terrific guy, great fun, and almost at times, I don't know if you've noticed this with people, but when they look exactly like their father or their mother, and their mannerisms, and for a moment, because I'd known Max as well, you're thinking, which one is it? He was that like him. And as I said, he probably won't get the recognition that he deserves, and that won't bother Anthony at all. But he was a talented performer, he was a lovely man, and he and his family and his father left behind a terrific legacy. And as I often say on this show, it's the people that really changed a lot for us we should be very grateful for. And consequently, you know, when you put on these albums, and you know the song I'm a pink toothbrush, you're a blue toothbrush, I think that's the way round, that was one of Max's. You'll be singing that all day now, you see. That's exactly why I miss, love and adore these greats of variety. And if you haven't checked him out, or indeed his father Max, have a quick look on YouTube and you'll see what all the royal fuss was about. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.